Welcome to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm your host, Melissa Batchelor, and today I'm going to be talking about 6 tips for managing behaviors in Alzheimer's disease. So in Alzheimer's disease, a person can do many things that are distressing to you as a caregiver. These are often categorized as either behavioral or emotional behaviors, and they can range from being irritable, having major mood swings of being sad to angry, or being agitated. So Alzheimer's disease in a nutshell is brain failure. And when your brain fails, it means that you can't think clearly and you can't interpret information from the world around you correctly. And this can be frightening, and it can be very confusing to the person living with the disease. These feelings of anxiety or being scared can cause a person to behave in ways that are challenging to you as a caregiver. But please understand that it's not personal. The person with Alzheimer's disease is really just doing the best that they can, and we need to adjust our care to them. Behaviors may include repetitive verbalizations, such as saying, I want to go home, I want to go home, or help me, help me. Or they could lash out at you and resist care, particularly if you're trying to get them into the bath or the shower. And they could accuse you of stealing from them or trying to poison them. And these are just a few examples of different behaviors that you may see. But there are other behaviors that you could see also. So these 6 tips are just to give you a problem-solving framework, because you're going to have to be a detective and be reflective, and you're the person with the big brain. So in order to manage these behaviors effectively, these are the things that I want you to think about. So number 1, restrict. So if the behavior that you're seeing actually poses a safety risk or could potentially harm the person with dementia, then we need to restrict access to those things. And so things that come to mind for me include firearms, managing their finances, or driving. So understanding that restricting some things may be met with resistance. So you may need to involve other family or friends, but the main point is that you have to maintain safety for everyone. Number 2 is to reassess. So think back to when the person wasn't demonstrating this particular behavior. Has there been a recent medication change? Anytime there's a sudden change in behavior, you need to work with your healthcare providers to see if there's some new underlying health condition. Something as simple as a bladder infection or being constipated could be driving this behavior that you're seeing. Number 3, reconsider. Try to see the situation from the person with dementia's perspective. If they have issues with their vision or hearing, they may misinterpret what's going on, and then and that might not go very well. Alzheimer's disease also causes a person to lose the ability to use and understand language, but they are going to pick up on your nonverbal behavior. So if you're nodding your head and saying, let's go get in the shower, and they're mimicking back to you or mirroring that behavior to you, they may really not have understood what you were saying. So they could become upset with you. You can try using the underhand technique to provide a sensory motor cue so that you're doing with the person instead of just doing to them. So you want to try to maximize as many cues as you can. Number 4, we want to rechannel. So look at what the person is already doing and see if you can channel it into something constructive. Does that behavior have meaning for that person? So for example, I cared for a resident who had been a mail carrier with the post office his entire life. And he spent most of the day trying to deliver mail to all the residents in our nursing home. But rather than making him sit in the corner or medicating him, we just gave him a bag with letters so he could deliver the mail. Number 5, reassure. When someone's upset, anxious, or scared, they need reassurance. So even people with a normal brain. So reassuring that person that they're safe, that they're being taken care of, and that everything is all right is going to be important, but also to reassure yourself. This is a huge job, taking care of someone living with Alzheimer's disease. It's very difficult and it's very demanding. And you are also doing the best that you can. So even if you're not perfect, if you make a mistake, pat yourself on the back that you got through it, and You can move on to number 6, which is to review. So it takes two to tango and it takes two to tangle. So if you experience a less than ideal interaction with your loved one, you need to reflect on that event. You can talk about the situation with a trusted friend or family member, because what you're wanting to do is try to identify if there was a trigger and at what point could you have intervened to minimize the conflict. Was there something that you could have done differently? What could you try next time? And always be mindful that you may need more help or more rest, because we aren't our best when we're tired and also frustrated. So you could look into adult daycare options or respite care to allow you the opportunity to get rest also. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. Unfortunately, there isn't a rule book that says there's one right way to respond to any behavior. So I encourage you to be creative and engage other family members or friends who can help you come up with ideas for how to best manage any behavior that you find challenging. Multiple big brains are better when trying to help a person with a failing brain. You can also check out my podcast, How to Manage Repetitive Behaviors, and learn another problem solving framework called the C3P model. Um, I also share other strategies for dealing with behaviors in that podcast. So thank you for listening or viewing this video. And I hope that these 6 steps are helpful to you in managing behaviors in Alzheimer's disease.